I'm not even whistling any specific tune whatsoever. Hi. Welcome. Thanks for coming back, guys. You know what I'm thinking we should do today? Let's make a spoon. I know, that's totally not anything that we do at this channel at all. But I thought maybe this piece of maple, from my last video, if you guys had checked that one out, it was how to map out a piece of wood and make it into billets, just like this. Well, I successfully did that, and as you can see, there's a lot of crazy coloring going on here. Now, somebody reached out actually recently on Instagram, and they had mentioned that this could possibly be Norway maple. I've been calling it mystery maple ever since I got it, just because I don't know what kind of maple it is, and I wasn't too sure about identifying it in the summertime because it only recently just came back, came down in the fall, and not too many leaves were kicking around because we'd already cleaned them mostly up. So anyway, this guy seems to be a colorful lad. All right. This is just kind of my holding vise. This is what I'll just sort of put things in after I've axed things out. Now, as everybody was following along, I said usually about a couple inches thick to however length you want, depending on the spoon size, and you just go for it. Now, the remainder of it is, it's kind of got a bit of a bow to it, so I'm going to kind of lean into it a little. It's a little bit low up here as well, too, so I'm going to actually have the bowl down on this side, handle up through here. This is a bigger one, actually, and again, I left a little bit of meat on both ends, just in case there was any checking or cracking. So let's go for it. Rule of thumb, typically when it comes to measuring out a spoon, for example, how can I do that? Here's some spoon bowl templates that I have. It's just plastic from, believe it or not, recycled cups from Wendy's. Super easy to just cut, lay out, specifically draw any kind of templates. And then I usually use a lot of these because I enjoy the bowl shape quite a lot, but I do a lot of freehand as well too, just because I eventually will hit a bowl that I'm just absolutely going to be blown away with. But for now, I enjoy these guys. Anyway, rule of thumb, typically when you don't have any kind of measuring devices, 3 fingers. Just 3 fingers right here, and then you're going to cut a stop cut right here. Now, you don't have to use a stop cut. A lot of guys will just start axing and going crazy because they've been doing this for 25, 20 years, whatever plus, or they're really good with an axe, and that's totally fine. My only thing or word of advice to most people is that if you're going to try just using your hatchet and axing out any kind of crank or your bowl or anything like that, you know, just watch it. You can lose control of what you want to do, and you can lose the spoon very quickly as well. For me, the probability of failure is that much smaller when you actually cut stop cuts into the piece of wood that you're trying to carve. It just makes it easy, you know what you're doing, and then once you do that every single time, your success rate is so high and you can just enjoy what you're doing. Whereas if you're axing, there's a strong probability that you'll axe too much in one area, too deep, wrong angle, and then the spoon will start to, you know, shift on you and it won't be going the exact way where you wanted it. And again, that's all dependent on how good you are with an axe. For now, most people should or could start by carving a stop cut. And what is that right here? Well, I'll show you. 3 fingers, that's roughly the size of the bowl, what I was trying to say earlier. So somewhere just right there. Oh. Bam. Now, typically I would also take a little bit off the end here if it was dried a little bit, and you can usually see it starts to dry and sort of creep down the log, and you can see where it starts to dry, chop it off, and then start there. This was literally fresh cut like a day ago. So all I'm going to do is just cut the stop cut here, and then I'm going to utilize the entire bowl. You know what? Just to play it safe, there we go. It's already going to be a long spoon anyway, so there it is. Perfect. So that's it. I've compensated for everything. Now, you know, once you come here and you do your 3 fingers, the reason why I'm doing that is, say for example, this bowl shape right here. A spoon, and these are without measuring tools, if you were to do this in the woods or just wanted to go freehand, a spoon typically is about, a cooking spoon anyway, You just have to measure it by the bowl, and that will give you your length, which will determine the length of the log, how you're cutting it, size of billets you're making, all that kind of stuff. So for this, just say example, this is the bowl right here. It's usually for cooking spoons 2.5 bowl lengths. So here's your bowl here, 1. So now you'd have to go 1, 2, roughly 1, 2, and then a half, bang. So this handle properly is going to come and stop right about here. You can utilize the rest of it. It's only about a half an inch or something like that, and that's totally fine. But the actual spoon length itself is usually dictated by that. It's always 2.5 the size of your bowl, and however big the bowl is, just measure it. I usually do my fingers. That's it. I'm going to go 1, I'm going to go 2, and then kind of a half, and that's where it's going to stop. All right, so what we essentially did was, again, we cut the line, we chopped with the axe down this way towards the line, and then same thing on the other side, and then just kind of followed it out this way and then chopped it out that way. So next up, we are going to draw what we want the spoon to look like. Now this is where you can pretty much go any direction you'd like to go. The reason why also I'm cutting this, it's called crank, and crank is the bowl degree in relation to the handle. The reason why I'm doing that is because I enjoy spoons with a bit of character that have a kind of a bend to it. It's also functional as well too, but typically I enjoy putting a little bit of crank in my spoons. But so for this, essentially, you can go many directions on this point. If you want to, you can go freehand, you can just see what you can do with it, or you can start busting out all the measuring tools. For me, specifically, for this guy, I guess I'll use a Milwaukee pen. I don't typically use sort of markers or anything like that, but with green wood there's a bunch of different things that you can use. There's grease pencils, grease pens, and wax pens. There's just carpenter's pencils and things like that with thicker lead, Sharpies and stuff, and then there's other pencils and things that really kind of adhere to wet wood. This is pretty wet too. It's actually pretty heavy. It was heavier before, obviously, but I mean, still pretty heavy. All right, so what I usually do, and again, is I just kind of establish my crank line, like where is it? So it's right here, and I wouldn't worry about all the choppy bits and stuff like that I didn't smooth off. It's like all that can come out with the carving. So this is going to be where the crank line is. Typically a bowl is only like the top of a bowl would only be about sort of a quarter of the way for the actual length of the bowl. It doesn't have to be that way. You can, mess around with it, play around with it, depending on what the spoon you're doing. But for me, typically the top of the bowl is going to be somewhere around here. And then I can just go ahead and start to draw something. I'm not really sure what I'm feeling on this one, kind of like what kind of spoon. Traditional, something different. Egg style. I kind of really dig, and I don't know why, maybe it's just this point in my life, sort of like this sort of off center, off kilter kind of thing. And I think that's kind of cool. I don't know, I can do freehand if I want to. What the hell, why not? Let's do that. I'm going to start here at the tip, come down a bit, and then a little bit larger. I wasn't planning on going that large, but you know what, whatever. And the back of the bowl is going off where I drew there, but not a big deal. It's actually pretty cool. Yeah. I was going to pull a template out, but all right, there we go. That's what I'm going to do. Anyway, you don't have to do that to start. I just did that right now to start. Sometimes I do this in terms of putting a bowl. Sometimes I draw my center line, but I just kind of went with the flow of what was going on here. So usually it's going to be roughly half here, And again, you know, the more spoons you carve, the more you'll be able to adjust it while carving. You know, you just leave yourself a little bit of room just so you can get in there with some knives and stuff like that. But for this guy, I think that's roughly, we'll go with that there. You're not too far off anyway, so we'll just do this. Just gonna flow through the wood there in the end. Yeah, there we go. That's good enough. I don't know. Lately, I've been kind of adding a little bit more texture to my handles, a little bit more sort of body to it for better grip or whatever kind of grip. But typically, I'm a straight ass handle guy. So I think for this guy, we're just going to go my traditional route and just go straight. I don't know how much more of this I'm going to use, but we'll see what happens. Let's turn it around. Gonna go by eye, just, you know, whatever. It's roughly the same handle size. So yeah, I might nip some of this back here off. So there we are. That's it, ladies and gents. So we now have officially had a spoon billet that we have gone ahead and axed out straight from the log, and then now we've added some crank into it. We got a lot of thickness here, so we can play around, and that just means playing around with the depth and things like that with the actual features of the spoon itself. But this guy, yeah, no, I'm actually pretty excited. Stay tuned for part 2, where we get this all the way out. That's right, folks, we're going all the way to finish with this guy, so you get to see what's going on the whole way through. So please drop me a like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for everybody coming back. More coming up.